When I got in the car, I noticed this right away. Most of you are probably seeing red flags already. So guys, in today's video, we've got a brand new car to look at, a brand new customer for me. This is a 2017 Outback 2.5i Limited. Now, we don't know the service history of the car. We've never seen this car before, so we're gonna do a full inspection front to back as a courtesy to this customer, but we're gonna address two main concerns that they have. The first one you might see is gonna be something dealing with the cooling system, which is they think they might have a cracked cylinder head or a head gasket issue based on someone saying they had a bunch of white smoke coming out of their tailpipe. So we're gonna diagnose and see if there's a head gasket concern with this car. The second major concern was they were feeling like the car was holding back. It wasn't accelerating the way it should, and it just felt sluggish. So we're gonna look into those two main concerns and do a full inspection on this car. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into it. So guys, when the customer brought me the car, there were two main concerns. One was a possible cracked cylinder head, head gasket issue, etc. The other was an issue where they felt like the car was holding back. It wasn't accelerating like it was. They thought maybe there was an issue with the CVT. Never underestimate a visual inspection. When I got in the car, I noticed this right away. Most of you are probably seeing red flags already. Double stack floor mats. You never ever want to put a floor mat over a existing factory floor mat. That's a recipe for disaster. So no kind of belittlement whatsoever to the customer. So many people don't realize this and how this is a safety issue, but this is what I found. I went on a test drive, of course, to confirm the result, but as I was driving it, I knew exactly what the issue was. It felt like the car wouldn't accelerate well, the throttle response was low, and it was due to this secondary floor mat on top of the factory floor mat. This is what happens, they slide and they jam up under your pedals. Luckily, it only jammed up under the gas pedal on this car, which is dangerous nonetheless. If you're trying to pull out in front of somebody or something like that and can't accelerate, that's dangerous. But the real danger comes in if it jams up behind your brake pedal and you cannot brake. That is not something you want to do. I'm going to remove this and shake all the sand and stuff out of it, probably vac out this and put it somewhere else. If the customer wants to put it back in, under my advisement not to, that's on them, but I won't have this in here after I've worked on it. It's too much of a liability in case it slid back under there and they had an issue and had an accident. I'm not gonna have that on me, so I'm gonna remove this, correct that issue. I slid it back during the test drive and confirmed that that was the issue, that it was the floor mat hanging up, not allowing the gas pedal to move freely. But I just stuffed it back under here to show you guys exactly what it looked like when I found it. So again, never double stack floor mats. It's extremely dangerous, and this is the reason why, because it'll slide on that other mat and get hung up under your gas pedal and your brake pedal, and you don't want to lose your ability to stop the car. So everything under the hood is pretty clean. No oil leaks really visible from the top side, which you'd expect for a 100,000 mile 2017. We got a little bit of corrosion and buildup on the battery. That needs to be cleaned up. Belts, hoses, everything looks pretty daggum good. Nothing is jumping out at me as anything concerning. The belt is a little bit old, but there isn't any cracking or fraying on it. Just the grooves are getting kind of deep, and probably is the original belt. These belts are pretty good at holding up to some mileage and some age from Subaru. So I'll ask the customer if they know when the last time the belt was replaced, and if they don't know, I will put it on the list of recommendations. Looking at the PCV hose and valve, PCV hose is hard as a rock. It would break if I took it off of there, so definitely going to recommend a PCV valve and PCV hose. Have not pulled off the intake duct, but I can just about guarantee you this car needs a throttle body cleaning. I will take that off, look at that, put that on the list of services advised. Other than that, nothing else really jumping out on the top side here. So we're gonna go ahead and pull out a spark plug, jump in here, and see if we got any oil on the coil packs, any kind of leakage from the spark plug tube seals, and look at the state of the spark plugs. I believe they bought the car at 60, 70,000 miles and haven't done any major services since then, but apparently the dealer they bought it from did the 60,000 mile service. So we're just going off of their word on that. So check the coolant. Coolant is a little low. Customer stated The reason they think that they have a cracked head or a head gasket issue is because they've had to add some coolant, and they did see some white smoke out the tailpipe. I don't know if they were just seeing regular condensation, starting it on a cold day or a humid day, or if it was really like churning out a ton of white smoke, like it was drinking coolant. There's no contamination, cross-contamination I've seen between the oil and the coolant. Nothing really scuzzy looking in the reservoir or under the cap. Nothing in the oil that's alarming. So just gonna go ahead and skip the cylinder leakage test, and we'll just put a low spill-free funnel in here, run the car up to temp, and see if we got any bubbling in the radiator. Should be pretty conclusive there. All right, guys, so we've got a little bit more pulled apart in the engine bay, a little bit more probing than a normal inspection. Noted that we have a dirty air filter. Going to recommend replacement of the engine air filter. Went ahead and pulled out one of the spark plugs. We had oil all over the end of the coil. I'll put a picture in of that. We had oil sitting at the edge of the bore for the spark plug. Pulled the spark plug out. Oil on the spark plug, oil on the spark plug socket. Here's a quick look at that spark plug. Try to put in some steel pictures a little bit closer. Check the gap. Not too worn down. So they're probably replaced at 60,000 miles or around about. We're at 113,000 miles now. So we're closing in on another 60,000 miles. So might go ahead and recommend these NGKs to be replaced. Might as well, if we're going to go ahead and pull apart the pull the coils out and do the cam cover reseal here, because those spark plug tube seals are leaking. Might as well do it all at once, save on the labor, just throw in the parts for those spark plugs. But other than that, we're going to put this back together, continue our inspection on the car, and get underneath, see if we see any oil leaks from the cam carriers, timing chain cover, all that kind of stuff. And there's our confirmation on throttle body needing to be clean. We got a ridge of carbon right there on the outside of the butterfly. All right, guys, check on the cabin air filter. I'm assuming it's going to be bad from that pine needle RDC. And yeah, she's pretty bad. Gonna advise cabin air filter replacement. All right, guys, now we're doing our visual inspection underneath the front of the car, looking at the bottom of the engine. It is pristine, it is dry, no leaks, no nothing. Perfect, exactly what you want to see. Cam carriers, dry as a bone, nothing at the head gasket line. Just perfect, exactly what you want to see under here. No issues with the engine. No issues with the front differential or transmission. Everything's bone dry, no leakage. We do have some vegetation and a little bit of mud, but we live out in the country, so it's expected. Everything looks great with the ball joint, CV axle, tie rod ends, sway bar end links, but I'll jack it up and shake the tires, make sure there's nothing going on there. During the test drive, I did notice that one or both of the rear wheel bearings are making noise. We'll try to figure out exactly which side it is, whether it's passenger side or driver side. But other than that, everything's looking great on this car, which you'd expect with it only having 113,000 miles on it. There shouldn't be any leaks or any issues going on under here. So let's go ahead and get into the back and see if we can see anything, out of place back there. But yeah, these front brake pads are getting really, really low. Very much near the end of life, so we'll be recommending front brakes as well. All right, guys, on to the rear of the vehicle, and everything looks great back here. No rust, no corrosion. The exhaust system is in great shape with no rust, no leaking axle seals, no torn boots on the CV axles. All the fasteners are tight. No broken connectors on the electric rear calipers. Bushings, all tight. Ball joint tight up there. Everything's good. Just letting you see, I already checked it over before I started filming this clip. Differential bushings, just, everything's the way it should be. Based on mileage and the lack of service information, I'm going to advise a rear differential service, a front differential service, and a CVT fluid service. So going to add those to the list. We'll check the rear brakes and pretty much be wrapped up with this inspection. So rear brake inspection on these is much easier through the wheel. We're about 50%, maybe 40% wear on the brake pads, so not as bad as the front. but still gonna make note of that for the customer. So we're gonna go ahead now and put that lyle spill-free funnel in the radiator, run the car up to temperature, and check for any bubbling to see if we have a head gasket issue or not. All right, guys, so we've got the lyle spill-free funnel installed. We're gonna run this car up to temperature and check for any bubbling in our cooling system. So guys, we've been running for quite a while now. We're not quite up to full operational temperature, but no bubbling whatsoever. Pretty much confirming there's no combustion gases getting into the cooling system. We'll let the thermostat open and fully confirm that there's nothing going on here, but I didn't think there was. There was no issue with overheating or anything. They just had to add a little bit of coolant into the reservoir sporadically, which is kind of normal. Some of it evaporates off, some of it just gets lost through time. But again, the main thing here is the F-Series engine doesn't have head gasket issues as a rule compared to the older single overhead cam and dual overhead cam naturally aspirated 2.5 EJs. And, you know, it's only got 113,000 miles. I wouldn't expect to see any kind of head gasket issue without some kind of catastrophic failure of the cooling system, like a blown radiator hose, running the car with no coolant and overheating it and cooking the head gaskets. That's about the only place you'll see those head gaskets fail this new and this low a mileage, especially on the F-Series engine. So, again, we're gonna let it get up to temperature, but looks like we're A-okay here. Looks like they just need some routine service and maintenance called up. The front brakes, rear brakes getting close, PCV valve, the hose, some filters, maybe a belt, and services of the front rear differential and the CVT fluid, and they should be good to go, aside from the spark plug tube seals and a set of plugs while we're in there. So we'll get back to you. Confirmed 100% on this when we get it fully up to temperature, but looks like this customer is in the clear and not gonna have a huge repair bill for this 2017 Outback. So guys, we are up to operational temperature. Thermostat has opened and closed several times. We're probably gonna see some bubbling now because the fluid is getting close to the boiling point, but there hasn't been any bubbling, anything going on otherwise with the cooling system. Pretty sure we can 100% confirm there are no head gasket issues on this car. There isn't a cracked head on this car. We're good to go. Again, just wanted to confirm that with this test. So one last service I'm gonna put on the list is a cooling system service, because it just occurred to me that with 113,000 miles on this car and the fact that they probably haven't serviced the cooling system since they bought it, this stuff is good, but it's only good for 10 years or 100,000 miles, according to Subaru, 8 years, 80,000 miles, in my opinion. And we're well past that, so we need to do a cooling system service, which is flushing out the old coolant, going ahead while we have the coolant drained out, replacing the thermostat, both of the thermostats, the one for the CVT and the one for the engine, and putting some new, fresh Subaru Super Coolant in the cooling system. So I'm gonna put that down on the list of recommended services as well, because we don't wanna develop a head gasket issue due to neglect of our cooling system. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one with maybe some more videos on what services the customer decided to pick and do to this car.